Well, Blake, how are you doing today?
Man, I gotta tell you, Gooey, I am feeling great.
Yeah,
Um, we're like,
excited
we're,
about the marathon?
yeah, I'm super excited about it. We're like, as of recording this interview, probably about, I don't know, 3 weeks away, something like that.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's closing in quick. I'm getting more and more excited every day.
Okay, well, for starters, most people who've watched the marathon before are probably pretty aware of you since you've been coming since the second year, right?
Third year actually.
Third year.
2014 was my first year.
All right, so you're a veteran at this point.
I guess you could say that.
Well, do you want to give us a bit of background on your history with Zelda Dungeon Informer and the marathon?
Sure. Well, I first found out about Zelda Dungeon back in 2011, and it was right before Skyward Sword was released. And what I wanted to do was play through all of the Zelda games up until that point. So I was sitting with my friend Ben, and I was playing through either Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, one of those two, and I'm not very familiar with those games, as most anybody that knows me knows that. And we got stuck on some part, so Ben ended up looking up Zelda Dungeon on my laptop, and we figured out what we needed to do, and then ever since then, I've used it as my guide to help me through games. I actually used Caleb's video walkthrough from Twilight Princess to do my first 100% of that, and all of his video walkthroughs were great. So I pretty much use Zelda Dungeon for all of my Zelda needs. So I watched the marathon in 2012. And I thought, well, I'd like to do something like that. Like, that looks like fun. And I found out that they were based in Chicago, and I was like, I could totally do that. Like, I'm a 3-hour drive from Chicago. Like, oh, how can I be a part of this? So, what really piqued my interest about it was Four Swords Adventure specifically, because all four screens from the Game Boys, as well as the main video screen, was all tied into it all at once. And I was like, gosh, like, I'm pretty tech savvy. Like, I know it's gonna take multiple capture cards to do that, and all the capture cards that I've used don't really work very well together. So I'm like, how did they do that? So in May of 2013, Mossy's put out a post looking for wiki editors. So I hit him up, started doing some wiki edits. And I ended up kind of falling out of it because I didn't have a whole lot of free time over the summer. I was really, really busy, and I couldn't really commit to doing wiki edits very much. But the 2013 marathon came around, and I watched that, and that was a load of fun watching it. And it really revitalized my interest in wanting to try to attend the next marathon. So I hit the wiki pretty hard. Did a handful of big edits that caught Mossy's attention, and he threw me into the staff chats. I was like, cool, awesome. So I continued doing some wiki editing, and in February of 2014, I was talking with a guy named Brian, who some of the longtime Twitch viewers might remember him, and it turns out that we both had the same idea of to start streaming regularly on the Zelda Dungeon Twitch channel. We brought the idea to Mossy's, he approved it, and I got all of the credentials and everything that I needed and started setting up everything for us to start streaming to Zelda Dungeon. So I've been kind of semi-regularly streaming to the Zelda Dungeon Twitch page since, and still doing occasional wiki edits. Went to the
that's awesome.
Ended up going to the 2014 marathon, helped out on the tech side as much as I could, and ever since then I've gone to each marathon and started taking a larger part in the tech planning. Started working pretty close with Trevor, who is like the master planner of everything tech, and he knows a lot more of the like the higher end hardware that we use. So I started I was working with him, kind of learned the setups and the software and stuff that he used. So
yeah, so like the first year you were just kind of helping out, but over the past few years you've been here earlier and helped set up, you know, the whole thing.
Yep.
Like how has that evolved for you? Like, did you like just learn a bunch from Trevor, like you were saying, to where you could set up more on your own, or is that something
like Trevor's absolutely the technical mastermind of everything. So over the past few years, like, I've learned a lot just with talking with him and learning about the various equipment, the hardware, the software, all of that stuff. So one of the things that piqued my interest, like I said before, was having all 5 screens at once for Four Swords Adventures. I know that 2013 had something similar with 4 players racing an Ocarina of Time, along with the first like Mario Kart style Link to the Past race that had, I think, 6 players. So 2014 being my first year, I really kind of took a backseat to Trevor. I let him know, you know, I have an idea of what I'm doing. If you need anything, like need any cables ran, tell me where to plug stuff in. I can help you out with whatever you need. So that's pretty much what I did the first year. Tried to learn a couple of things, just tried to figure out how things went. But as far as hardware goes, in 2014, I think we had 4 Blackmagic Intensity Pro capture cards. They basically had every input that we could ever need. And then we also had 2 Intensity Shuttles, which is basically the same thing, but it's a USB model. I think we had at least 1 Dazzle. If anybody knows what a Dazzle is, it's a really old USB capture device that does not work.
That.
It absolutely does not work on newer operating systems anymore. It's impossible to find drivers for that thing now. I think we also had 2 3DSs that had capture cards, and most of the races were like 2 to 4 players, but we pushed A Link to the Past up to 7 players, so we got all of our use out of all of those capture devices. But in 2015, Trevor brought a Blackmagic DeckLink Quad capture card. It had 4 SDI inputs and 4 outputs, all on 1 card. So 1 card we can potentially use like 4 consoles with. Sounds pretty cool. So we still use the 4 Intensity Pros, the 2 Intensity Shuttles. I think we used 2 Dazzles. Somehow we still got Dazzles to work. Most of the games didn't require us to use that many inputs at once, because we had like a maximum of like 4 players for a race. But then there was Twilight Princess and A Link to the Past. And we're the kind of people that like to push things as far as we can.
Yeah, there's like a theme of pushing the envelope over the years.
So what did it end up being? Like 9 people playing Twilight Princess or something? This is insane.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
So just to give a little bit of an insight on how much actual hardware is involved in doing something like this. We had, you know, a station would be a TV, a console, and whatever various like HDMI splitters and HDMI to SDI converters, things like that. We didn't really have that many SDI inputs that we were using. I think we were only using 2 of them for consoles. So, but each station had a TV, a console, various HDMI cables, and uber amounts of power that needed to be used. So we had surge strips all over the place. So that was really intense. Like we scrounged around trying to find all of the cables that we needed to make everything plug in and work. And I think we have a time lapse video of the 2015 Twilight Princess setup on our YouTube channel. I think it took us like it's, I think, like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something. It took us a long time because we ended up breaking down everything and just starting from scratch and just started setting up everything from there. So in 2016, we really streamlined the setup process. We made a lot of improvements all around. We put a lot of funds into new equipment, new hardware, a whole lot of cables, whole lot of HDMI splitters and SDI converters and all of that. Mases built his own computer to be used with streaming, and that way Trevor didn't actually have to pack his up and fly it out to Chicago. That way he also doesn't run the risk of something getting damaged along the way. And I remember in 2014 he actually arrived in Chicago with a damaged hard drive that got damaged on the flight. So he was a little upset about that. But we added a recently released upgraded version of that Decklink Quad called the Decklink Quad 2, which had 8 bidirectional SDI inputs, so that each input could be configured as an input or an output. So that alone gave us more inputs to work with from a single card. Trevor also brought his 4 Intensity Pros again that we used for the larger races. And we actually had, I think at that point we had 4 3DSs with capture cards that we were able to use. So we were able to play, I think we were able to play Triforce Heroes. I think we had like a 4-player race of Ocarina of Time, more people playing Majora's Mask 3D. So we're able to get more and more people playing these races. And I think we still used one of the Intensity Shuttles, but it was pretty much on its deathbed for quite some time, and I'm pretty sure that we fried it that year. I don't think it's ever getting any use. I don't think it ever works at all anymore. And I think we actually fried 2 of them. Oops. I think really that was only used for like 4 Swords Adventures and maybe a couple of other short games. So with all the extra cables, splitters, converters, and everything that we got, having all of that extra hardware, we were really able to set up almost everything from the beginning. As you said earlier, I got, I start getting up there a little bit earlier. I start setting stuff up before most of everybody gets there. So that's one of the things that I did was I got up there like a day earlier than everybody else, and I just unpacked all of the cables and stuff and just started, took my time and just started running all the cables everywhere that it needs to go, and just waited for Trevor to get there to finish the software setup and everything and make sure everything's going. So being able to do that really let us have very little downtime between games. So we're not switching out things, we're not swapping cables and doing this and that. And it's really something that's really hard to do with almost every game having 2 to 4 racers and a couple of games having like 6 to 10 racers. So and a quick note about that Decklink Quad 2, Mases ordered it and got it like 4 to 5 months before the marathon. He installed it, tested it, everything was working, and he didn't touch it again until we got there. So about an hour or 2 before we're supposed to go live, as Trevor's going over and checking through everything, we found out that it wasn't working. Fans weren't spinning. It's pretty much a dead card. We were like, what are we going to do? So luckily, Phantom Hourglass was the first game, and we weren't using that card for it, so we were still able to start on time. We ordered a new card, had it overnight shipped to us, and worked with that one for the rest of the marathon. And so Massey's got the bad one repaired and decided to keep the new one, so now we've got 2 to work with. Which brings me to 2017. We always try to push the boundaries, and we're doing it again. We've got fancy new devices for the streaming software. We've got 16 total inputs and outputs to work with. Lots of cables, lots of splitters, lots of converters, cameras, microphones, audio gear, all kinds of stuff. We're going to have like laptops and tablets set up with the credentials to be able to see the donations, so that those can be read straight from the couch instead of from a desk that's off camera. We're going to try to have at least 1 or 2 people sitting on the couch during each of the games to commentate on, various aspects of the game, and also what the runners are doing, maybe some of the tricks that they're trying to pull off, trying to explain some of those things, and also be able to communicate with the viewers that are in the chat and even relay some of the questions that the viewers might have for some of the players. So it's pretty exciting, like really looking forward to it.
All right, that was a pretty long-winded answer there, Blake.
Yeah, it is.
So this is Mases here now asking questions.
Hi, Mases. Did I put Gooey to sleep? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, you did. So one of the reoccurring themes at the Zelda Dungeon Informer Marathon, and you are often one of the victims of this, is you come well prepared with your game plan, with scripted answers to questions you already know, or a setup exactly as you see fit, and then this guy named Mases comes in and just upends the tea table at the last moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how do you feel about that, and what do you expect about the 2017 marathon that Mases will be doing?
Mases is an unknown. It's really hard to gauge what Mases can have up his sleeve. He's really capable of just about anything.
In past years, at the 11th hour, we've made the Wind Waker hero mode.
Yes, I that just came into my mind. Yes, Wind Waker hero mode, which very upset me and Josh because we were.
I think Josh was fine with it.
Well, I was fine with it too. I just wish I would have known more than 30 minutes in advance that it was a possibility. We might have prepared a little bit, but
it was far less than 30 minutes in advance.
Probably. Yeah. As soon as you announced it, the chat or the donators just blew up and just threw the donations through the roof.
That's what I'm here for.
It was fun. It was a good, interesting challenge.
Well, I want to let you know there will be plenty of more in this year's marathon. Thank you.
Can't wait.
Okay. Okay, hey.
Why'd you let him do that? Cut that whole thing out.
He really wanted to troll you.
Oh, well, he always does that.